Six people are now charged with a huge fraud and bribery scam targeting food stamps. Listen to this. One of the arrested people in this, a USA employee, that's the government agency that oversees food stamp benefits. According to the Justice Department, the group set up a network that supplied approximately 160 unauthorized EBT terminals to stores across the New York area. Those terminals then illegally processed more than $30 million in EBT transactions. And the USDA employee who's charged actually worked in the division responsible for identifying food stamp fraud. Earlier this month, we highlighted.
Let's hear it again.
Six people are now charged with a huge fraud and bribery scam targeting food stamps. Listen to this. One of the arrested people in this, a USA employee, that's the government agency that oversees food stamp benefits. According to the Justice Department, the group set up a network that supplied approximately 160 unauthorized EBT terminals to stores across the New York area. Those terminals then illegally processed more than $30 million in EBT transactions. And the USDA employee who's charged actually worked in the division responsible for identifying food stamp fraud.
Let's go to this here. Show me a EBT terminal. Okay, EBT terminal. Okay. What does an EBT terminal look like? So they were able to set this up. An EBT, electronic benefits transfer terminal, is a device used by retailers to process EBT transfer transactions, like those involving supplemental nutritional assistance programs, SNAPs, benefits. It looks like a point of sales terminal, often with a card reader for swiping or inserting EBT cards. Some terminals are compact and handheld, while others are designed for countertop use. So as we listen to this thing, and I hate to be redundant,
Six people are now charged with a huge fraud and bribery scam targeting food stamps. Listen to this. One of the arrested people in this, a USA employee, that's the government agency that oversees food stamp benefits. According to the Justice Department, the group set up a network that supplied approximately 160 unauthorized EBT terminals to stores across the New York area. Those terminals then illegally processed more than $30 million in EBT transactions. And the USDA employee who's charged actually worked in the division responsible for identifying food stamp fraud.
So I'm clear now. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I listened to it earlier. I'm like, you know what? I'll do the video this evening. Where are you going to get 160 of these things at? Let's just go there. You got to have an account, right? So if these were ordered through a special account, you got to show you got a business, right? Unless they ordered these through the business that they were in, that is the government. Now there are invoices with everything. I'm just playing devil's advocate because I've done business half my life, and I know you have to have invoices. I know you got to have account receivables, payments. Got a way up to pay for these things. This thing had to be so sophisticated, it had to be foolproof. If you ordered 160, that means you did it in secret. Or if you did it overtly, and now the 160 are missing, who knows? Because maybe the government in New York, maybe their EBT program, they order thousands, and the 160 got lost in the scheme. Either way, people, I'm trying to play little detective here because I did security for 19 years. And this story stinks. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Because this is a computer, is it not? This information goes somewhere. I don't care if you are able to buy these things and hide it. That information got to go to some source. Well, Pearson, the person who were the people that were involved, they were IT people, and they had the information routed to a bank. Okay, I'll soak in that logic, but I still don't believe it. Now, what was the first thing that gave me pause? I'm gonna tell you what gave me pause. 6 were charged. 6 were charged, and we're talking $66 million. Trump administration shuts down $66 million food stamp fraud and bribery scheme. Arrests USDA employee and 5 others. So I see 666. 6 people, 66 million. What are the odds? They just stopped at 66? The U.S. Department of Agriculture has discovered a major food stamp fraud and bribery scheme misappropriating millions of taxpayer dollars. This has led to the arrest of a USDA employee and 5 others. This comes on the heels of Doge, Make America Great Again / waste, fraud, and abuse. And what they're trying to do is make us believe that they had such a sophisticated thing going on that they were able to order these things, and for whatever period of time, they got away with it. I can't see that happening, people. There's too many checks and balances in computers. This should have had a red flag on it right away. Well, Pearson, maybe everybody in the chain who's supposed to be in the checks and balances was in on it. That's what would have to have happened. That's why I don't believe it. It ain't like I'm just running my KFC and I'm, ghosting inventory, saying I got X amount of product in the restaurant and I really don't. And my area manager only come by once every 3-4 months and do a inventory with me. This thing got checks and balances. And they've been doing this food stamp thing forever. It just don't make sense, people. Let's go on with the story. What happened? The USDA, along with the FBI and U.S. Attorney Office, has indicted 6 individuals in connection with a bribery and fraud scheme involving the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, allegedly resulting in over $66 million in unauthorized transactions, stated a federal press release on Friday. I believe they came up with this number. It's coded, because that's how they work. 6 is their number. 66 is their number. 66 is their number, the dark powers. I believe they created this story and they're doing it to justify their move. Okay? And the move will eventually be a chip or something. Gonna do away with the dollar. And since these readers and everything else is vulnerable, we got to get rid of that technology. So guess what? The next thing to do is put it in your finger. You understand what I'm saying? I think they create. Don't get me wrong. I believe there is waste, fraud, and abuse. But when you tell me $66 million, and this went on, come on, man. No way. I'm gonna show you what I do believe. So just hold tight. We'll come back to that. 6 charged a multi-million-dollar scheme targeting food stamps in New York. Where else? New York, right? Unauthorized EBT terminals, more than $30 million in illegal transactions, USD employee who worked in a fraud division among these charged. So yeah, you get somebody who's working in the fraud division, everything that's going on that's illegal, this person's going to cover it up. Okay, I get it. It's too well thought out to work to me. You imagine how many hands in the cookie jar got to be to make this kind of thing work? Story don't make sense to me. So let me go down the rabbit hole.
There's this, a Department of Agriculture employee and 5 others under arrest this morning, accused of a multi-million-dollar food stamp fraud and bribery scheme. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York calling this one of the largest food stamp frauds in U.S. history. Joining me now is the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. Secretary, it's great to have you this morning. What can you tell us about this?
Well, good morning, Maria. It's always so great to be with you. And you are coming from one of my favorite day. And President Trump promised as he was traveling across the country over the last few years that it would not be the government that we know. The government certainly that under Joe Biden exponentially grew, and alongside that, including the fraud and waste and abuse. And so at USDA, we are hyper-focused on rooting out that waste, fraud, and abuse. And to your point, yesterday, was, if not the largest, one of the largest stings, and moving forward and finding that fraud, I think almost $70 million that is no longer going to be allowed here in Washington and with these programs like the food stamp program. So we're going to move forward, obviously, in partnership with the FBI, with the Department of Justice, of course.
Now, this story is what I believe on a more individual situation. Government employee accused of EBT fraud as a food stamp theft is on the rise, okay? Investigation. Now, this video came out 7 months ago. This is believable because you're doing this solo. You in the department, you all by yourself. When you're talking about multi-level theft, baby, come on, it's hard to believe. But this story here, this one I can believe. Listen to this.
Don't be fooled by the warm smile. What police say 57-year-old Nadine Jean-Baptiste did was stone cold. She was a principal clerk at the Department of Human Services in Rhode Island for over a decade. She supervised customer service assistants and had full access to EBT printing machines there. She knows the system.
This is a big inconvenience.
For 4 years, police say Nadine accessed people's personal information to check their EBT card balances. She then went in and changed their PIN numbers so that she could use their cards. 408 of them since January 2020. And investigators were onto her heavy. Here she is in June 2024, leaving a local market after using somebody else's EBT card. In July, she conducted 3 phone balance inquiries on another EBT card before going on a food run at a Stop and Shop. And here she is again at BJ's. The card she was using belonged to a man that was in jail, and she didn't do it alone. Police say her daughter, 27-year-old Octavia Jean-Baptiste, was...
All right, so she had an accomplice, somebody, her daughter. I can see, this story I can believe. This I can believe, basically solo, her daughter, she got sloppy, somebody in jail, played the game too long. I can see that, but this other one, I don't see it. Now, check this one out. This one's from 5 months ago. This is in Alabama. Over 1,600 Alabama EBT users report stolen funds since November.
Are starting tonight with brand new reporting on our investigation into EBT fraud.
We're now learning more than 16,000 people across Alabama have reported their funds have been stolen, and the Alabama Department of Human Resources says that's just within the last month.
Our Natalie Williamson continues to look into this. She spoke with another person who's doing their best now to provide for their family after they say their funds were stolen.
Tonight, thousands of Alabama EBT users are struggling to make ends meet as more people have reported their funds have been stolen. It's been 3 weeks since I first broke the story of a Mobile woman who told me her EBT account was drained. Frances Jacobson told me fraudsters drained her EBT account, leaving her with just 15 cents. Weeks later, after being reimbursed and receiving a new card, Jacobson said it happened again.
Yesterday I went to the store and swiped my card, and she told me that I only have 45 cents left.
Alabama DHR telling me as of today, 16,500 people in Alabama have reported their EBT.
People, what I think is going on in America and what's going to happen throughout the world, as I see America and the world transitioning with AI and computers and buying and selling, as the Bible talks about, you can't buy or sell without the mark of the beast. I see simultaneously a exposure of the problems that we have in relation to how you do a transaction, whether it's through dollars, whether it's through credit card, whether it's through your EBT card or online. Theft, fraud, and abuse, whatever, all those headings, all of a sudden, this is the pattern that I just know how they roll. They create this atmosphere before they pounce on something new. But they gotta saturate the atmosphere with all these problems. Just tell you what's going on. It doesn't mean that it's not true. I believe the devil is so slick, he allows the thing to build up. And then he'll go after him. And then boom, it's news. And then before you know it, we have a new way of doing transactions. This is all I'm saying. This is what I believe is going on. Is this story believable? It's more so believable. But getting back to this first one here, with 66 million, they're talking about 6 people involved to get this network going on? Come on, man. Come on. I don't believe it. And it's coming out of the Trump administration all of a sudden. I haven't done all the research, but as I talk off the top of my brain, where was this big number under Biden? Let's see. Food stamp fraud found under Joe Biden administration. Anything from the past? Anything coming up? I don't see nothing. Well, food stamp fraud, top 10. One chronic failing of SNAP is that billions of dollars are lost through fraud and abuse. Okay, so that's 2020. So this thing has been growing. This is billions of dollars through 2023. So yeah, this is what I believe, people, because I've done businesses and I have done audits, like you have done audits for companies that you work for, and you do audits in your own personal business. The basis of all business, as far as I'm concerned, is knowing your dollars. That which is going out and that which is going in. And I'm just talking about I'm just not talking about physical dollars. The exchange back and forth of transactions. I'm talking inventory. I was very good at, they call it other controllables in that restaurant business, in the field I was in. I know exactly how much money I spent that month to the penny, how much money I had coming in, all the products that I bought, the cost of every product, how much inventory I had in the business at January 1st, and how much money and inventory I had in the business January 31st. I did daily, weekly, and monthly audits and physical counts. You're not gonna sit here and make me believe that there were not enough checks and balances to get this thing, to catch this thing. And if the one we just saw in Joe Biden, if all this is true, that means this was deliberately done. Like I reported about a month ago. I reported to you guys on a few live shows. You got to remember when I was snapping about the economy, They deliberately allowed the American debt to get to 36.2 trillion on purpose so they can pounce and cut back now. They deliberately grew a false economy, and you did what? You got thousands of McDonald's, thousands of Popeyes, thousands of convenience stores, thousands of KFC, thousands of all these beauty salons, all these corporations that will open up. Probably 40% of these businesses had no business being created. You know why? Because the economy was flat. But people, we didn't know. Through ignorance, we kept spending, we kept buying, and we kept building. And now all of a sudden, under this administration, you name the retailer, they're either going out of business or they're cutting back. That's because the economy was already fake. I hope you're getting this. That means X amount of people had no business with jobs because the jobs were false. They did the same thing to the economy over in China, but they did it in a different way. China, ghost cities. Look, China's ghost cities are vast, new developments that were built to house millions of people, but remain largely empty. These cities sometimes referred to as unoccupied developments. This has been going on in China. These powers have fooled the world. Mass media, through banking, through politicians, through policies, through lending. And in China, they got ghost cities. Miles and miles of all this construction, nobody in them. And America's getting like that now because the truth is coming out about our real economy. You drive around some of these big cities, 25%, these places are out of business because they're now seeing the reality. I hope I'm making sense. So as I related to things in China and relate these kind of situations here in America, the same thing applies to this story, that this story has got to be a lie. They let it balloon. They deliberately got some fraud, don't get me wrong, but not this much. But they allowed some fraud to take place so they can simultaneously, like everything else, under this administration, think about it, under this time around the whole world, all of a sudden it's being exposed. You got to ask yourself why. Because it's time for the Antichrist, baby. This makes more sense because they got to justify pulling the plug, locking it down, changing over, putting the mark in your forehead or your arm or your head so he can have ultimate control over you. I'm Friendship Pearson. Don't believe all the hype. But know one thing, Jesus is coming again. The Bible might not break it down the way I just broke it down. But I'm telling you, this is what I believe. You let me know what you believe. God bless.